Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome back to Formula Amateur, where today we'll be discussing the Austrian Grand Prix in Spielberg on the Red Bull Ring. We'll be discussing Formula 3, Formula 2, and Formula 1 in what was a very hot weekend. So let's get into it, shall we? So I'll preface this by reminding you that in Formula 3, Brad Benavides is currently out of contention due to an injury he sustained in Monaco. So in this round, it was Salim Hanna who got into his seat. So he is there as a replacement for Austria. In free practice, in 30th position was Barrichello with 20 laps. In 29th was Garfias with 19. In 28th was David with 19. In 27th was Hannah with 20. In 26th was Buran Bakdi with 19. In 25th was Ho with 18. In 24th was Shin with 16. In 23rd was Guadish with 18. In 22nd was Gisti with 19. In 21st is G with 18. In 20th is McLaughlin with 16. In 19th is Wharton with 19. In 18th is Locorte with 19. In 17th is Ugachukwu with 9. In 16th is DePalo with 19. In 15th is Badua with 18. In 14th is Deligny with 17. In 13th is Tapanen with 19. In 12th is Sharp with 19. In 11th is Kolnagi with 19. In 10th is Lay with 19. In 9th is Yamakoshi with 16. In 8th is Del Pino with 17. In 7th is Claro with 18. In 6th is Nakamura with 18. In 5th is Naya with 17. In 4th is Rivera with 17. In 3rd is Slater with 19. In 2nd is Carter with 18. And in 1st is Stromstead with 20. In terms of qualifying, in 30th position was Shin, who dropped 16 positions. In 29th was Badua, who dropped 14 positions. In 28th was Barrichello, who gained 2 positions. In 27th was David, who gained 1 position. In 26th was Garcia, who gained 3 positions. In 25th is Hannah, who gained 2 positions. In 24th is Niall, who dropped 19 positions. In 23rd was McLaughlin, who dropped 3 positions. In 22nd was DePalo, who dropped 6 positions. In 21st was Brunback, who gained 5 positions. In 20th was Sharp, who dropped 8 positions. In 19th is G, who gained 2 positions. In 18th it was Kolnagi, who dropped 7 positions. In 17th was Locorte, who gained 1 position. In 16th was Ho, who gained 9 positions. In 15th was Deligny, who dropped 1 position. In 14th was Guadish, who gained 9 positions. In 13th is Del Pino, who dropped 5 positions. In 12th is Wharton, who gained 7 positions. In 11th is Rivera, who dropped 7 positions. In 10th is Claro, who dropped 3 positions. In 9th is Nakamura, who dropped 3 positions. In 8th is Lei, who gained 2 positions. In 7th is Kato, who dropped 5 positions. In 6th is Justy, who gained 16 positions. In 15th is Slater, who dropped 2 positions. In 4th is Stromstead, who dropped 3 positions. In 3rd is Tapanen, who gained 10 positions. In 2nd is Ugachukwu, who gained 15 positions. And in 1st is Yamakoshi, who gained 8 positions. And in terms of how the grid for the first race was, so in Formula 3 we reversed the top 12. So in 12th was Yamakoshi, in 11th was Ugachukwu, in 10th was Tapanen, in 9th was Stromstead, in 8th was Slater, in 7th was Justy, in 6th was Kato, in 5th was Lei, in 4th was Nakamura, in 3rd was Claro, in 2nd was Rivera, and in 1st was Wharton, and anyone in 13th position or lower stayed where they qualified. But how did the results look like for the first race? In 30th position with a DNF was Slater, who dropped 22 positions. In 29th was Lei, who dropped 21 positions. In 28th is McLaughlin, who dropped 5 positions. In 27th was Buran Bakti, who dropped 6 positions. In 26th was Hannah, who dropped 1 position. In 25th was Shin, who gained 5 positions. In 24th was Garfias, who gained 2 positions. In 23rd was Barrichello, who gained 5 positions. In 22nd was Ho, who dropped 6 positions. In 21st was Badua, who gained 8 positions. In 20th was Deligny, who dropped 5 positions. In 19th was David, who gained 8. In 18th was DePalo, who gained 4. In 17th was Kolnagi, who gained 1. In 16th was G, who gained 3. In 15th was Niall, who gained 9. In 14th is Sharp, who gained 6. In 13th is Guadish, who gained 1. In 12th is Locorte, who gained 5. In 11th is Just, who dropped 4. In 10th is Del Pino, who gained 3. In 9th is Ugachukwu, who gained 2. In 8th is Yamakoshi, who gained 4. In 7th is Kato, who dropped 1. In 6th was Tappan, who gained 4. In 5th is Stromstead, who gained 4. In 4th is Wharton, who dropped 3. In 3rd is Nakamura, who gained 1. In 2nd is Claro, who gained 1. And in 1st is Rivera, who gained 1. And for the feature race, in 30th was Guadish, who did not finish the race, dropping 16 positions. In 29th is David, who dropped 2 positions. He did not finish the race either. In 28th was Barrichello, who stayed where he was, and he did not finish the race either. And the final of the non-finishers in 27th was Shin, who gained 3 positions but did not finish the race. In 26th position was Ibrahim Bakri, who dropped 5 positions. In 24th is McLaughlin, who dropped 1 position. In 23rd is Garfias, who gained 3 positions. In 22nd is Justy, who dropped 16 positions. In 21st is Badua, who gained 8 positions. In 20th was Kolnagi, who dropped 2 positions. In 19th is Hannah, who gained 6 positions. In 18th was Rivera, who dropped 7 positions. In 17th was Del Pino, who dropped 4 positions. In 16th was Ho, who stayed where he was. In 15th was Niall, who gained 9 positions. In 14th was DePalo, who gained 8 positions. In 13th is Sharp, who gained 7 positions. In 12th is Deligny, who gained 3 positions. In 11th is Wharton, who gained 1 position. In 10th is Lay, who dropped 2 positions. In 9th is Lacorte, who gained 8 positions. In 8th is Yamakoshi, who dropped 7. In 7th is Tappan, who dropped 4. In 6th is Kato, who gained 1. In 5th is Nakamura, who gained 4. In 4th is Claro, who gained 6. In 3rd is Slater, who gained 2. In 2nd is Ugachukwu, who stayed where he was. And in 1st was Stromstead, who gained 3 positions. So where does that lead the leaderboard? So in 1st position, still ahead, is Ugachukwu on 78. A further 16 points behind is Slater with 62, and another 10 points behind on 52 is Niall, and then 3 points behind on 49 is Del Pino, and then another 8 points is Badou on 41, and Stromstead is also on 41. Then it's Claro, 4 points behind him on 37. Another 5 points behind on 32 is Yamakoshi, and then another 2 points behind is Kato on 30. Then it's Deligny, a further 2 points behind on 28. Then another 2 points behind is Rivera on 26. And then another 2 points behind on 24 is Nakamura. And then 4 points behind him is G on 20. Another 2 points behind is Wharton on 18. So is Tappanen. Then it's Guadish on 14. Another 4 points behind. Then it's Justy, another 1 point behind on 13. Then it's Benavides on 6, a further 7 points behind. Then another 3 points behind is Lay with 3. Then it's Lacorte, another 1 point behind on 2, and so is Sharp. Then Kolnagi is 1 point behind on 1, and so is Garfias. Then Burren Backley is 1 point behind on 0, and then everyone else is on 0 as well, and that's McLaughlin, DePalo, Ho, Hausenroder, Barrichello, Shin, Hannah, David, Escotto, and Carrasquedo, who never started a single race. And in terms of team standings, Campos Racing is on 156, Van Amers Racing a further 47 points behind on 109, then it's Trident 6 points behind them on 103, then 25 points behind them on 78 is Rodin Motorsport, then a further 31 points behind is ART Grand Prix on 47, and then 50 points behind them on 32 is MP Motorsport, another 8 points behind on 24 is High Tech, then another 12 points is Dams Lucas Oil on 22, then another 1 point behind is Primo Racing on 21, and then in last place is AIX Racing on 6 points. That's 15 points behind Prima. And now let's discuss Formula 2 and how everything went for them. So in 22nd position in free practice was Shields with 10 laps. In 21st was Miata with 22. In 20th was Verone on 22 as well. In 19th was Bennett with 23. In 18th was Montoya with 19. In 17th was Boyer with 23. In 16th was Stenshorn with 24. In 15th was Belinsky with 22. In 14th was Fittipaldi with 24. In 13th was Boganovic with 22. In 12th was Van Hoopen with 24. In 11th was Dirksen with 21. In 10th was Maney with 22. In 9th was Herta with 21. In 8th was Villagomez with 21. In 7th is Intrapufasak with 21. In 6th is Mini with 21. In 5th is Kamara with 17. In 4th is Leon with 21. In 3rd is Dunn with 23. In 2nd is Soil with 23. And in 1st is Goethe with 20. And how did qualifying look for Formula 2? For the main race, they qualified as follows. In 22nd was Verona, who dropped 2 positions. In 21st was Stensson, who dropped 5 positions. In 20th is Herta, who dropped 11. In 19th is Shields, who gained 3. In 18th is Fittipaldi, who dropped 4. In 17th is Miata, who gained 4. In 16th is Van Hoopen, who dropped 4. In 15th is Boyer, who gained 2. In 14th is Bogdanovic, who dropped 1. In 13th is Bielinski, who gained 2. In 12th is Maney, who dropped 2. In 11th is Dirksen, who stayed where he was. In 10th is Montoya, who gained 8. In 9th is Bennett, who gained 10. In 8th is Villagomez, who stayed where he was. In 7th is Goethe, who dropped 6. In 6th is Intrapufazak, who gained 1. In 5th is Kamara, who stayed where he was. In 4th is Mini, who gained 2. In 3rd is Solov, who dropped 1. In 2nd is Dunn, who gained 1. And in 1st is Leon, who dropped 3. Who gained 3. And in Formula 2, we reverse for the first race the top 10. So they qualified as follows for the sprint grid. In 10th was Leon, in 9th was Dunn, in 8th was Solov, in 7th was Mini, in 6th was Kamara, in 5th was Intrapufazak, in 4th was Goethe, in 3rd was Villagomez, in 2nd is Bennett, and in 1st was Montoya. And in the first race, in 22nd position, not finishing the race, was Fittipaldi, dropping 4. In 21st was Goethe, who did not finish the race due to a mechanical error, and he dropped 17 positions. In 20th was Intrapufazak, who did not finish the race, dropping 15. In 90 was Dirksen, who did not finish the race, dropped 8. In 18th is Herta, who did not finish the race but gained 2 places anyway. In 17th was Miata, who stayed where he was, but he did have a penalty. In 16th is Shields, who gained 3. In 15th was Van Hoopen, who gained 1. In 14th was Stenshorn, who gained 7. In 13th was Bogdanovic, who gained 1. In 12th was Verona, who gained 10. In 11th is Boyer, who gained 4. In 10th is Leon, who stayed where he was. In 9th was Solov, who dropped 1. In 8th was Maney, who gained 4. In 7th was Bielinski, who gained 6. In 6th was Kamara, who stayed where he was. In 5th was Mini, who gained 2. In 4th was Dunn, who gained 5. In 3rd was Villagomez, who stayed where he was. In 2nd was Montoya, who dropped 1. And in 1st was Bennett, his first ever podium and first ever win, who gained 1 position. And in terms of the race, in 22nd position, due to contact between each other, in 22nd was Villagomez, who dropped 14 positions, did not finish the race, and he was involved in a crash with Montoya, who's in 21st position, dropping 11 positions, also not finishing the race. In 20th was Boyer, who car set on fire. He did not finish the race and dropped 5 positions. In 19th is Herta, who gained 1 position. In 18th is Shields, who gained 1 position. In 17th was Verona, who gained 5 positions. In 16th is Miata, who gained 1 position. In 15th is Fittipaldi, who gained 3 positions. In 14th is Bogdanovic, who stayed where he was. In 13th was Maney, who dropped 1 position. In 12th was Bennett, who dropped 3 positions. In 11th is Bielinski, who gained 2. In 10th is Dirksen, who gained 1. In 9th is Van Hoopen, who gained 7. In 8th is Leon, who dropped 7. In 7th is Dunn, who dropped 5. In 6th is Stenshorn, who gained 15, but he was later disqualified, and everyone below him went up 1 position. But this is how the race finished. In 5th was Intrapufazak, who gained 1. In 4th was Kamara, who gained 1. In 3rd was Goethe, who gained 4. In 2nd was Mini, who gained 2. And in 1st was Solov, winning another race, gaining 2 positions. And how does this look like for the standings? In first position is still Mini with 108, 2 points behind him. On 106 is Solov, 24 points behind him. On 82 is Kamara, another 4 points behind him. On 78 is Dunn. Then it's Leon, 18 points behind on 60. Then 4 points behind him. On 56 is Stenshorn. In 7th is Bogdanovic, who is 3 points behind on 53. In 8th, another 8 points behind it on 45 is Van Hoopen. Then another 2 points behind on 43 is Maney. In 10th is Miata, a further 13 points behind on 30. Then in 11th is Montoya, 2 points behind Miata on 28 in 11th. In 12th is Goethe on 28, same as Montoya. In 13th is Intrapufazak on 23, a further 5 points behind. In 14th is Dirksen, 1 point behind him on 22. In 15th is Herta, 2 points behind him on 20. In 16th is Bennett, 3 points behind on 17. In 17th is Bielinski on 15, a further 2 points behind. In 18th is Verone, 1 point behind him on 14. In 19th is Shields on 10, 4 points behind him. And then Fittipaldi also on 10. In 20th, in 21st is Boyer on 10 as well. And in 22nd is Villagomez, earning his first points, but still 4 points behind his nearest rival Boyer, Fittipaldi and Shields on 6. And in terms of the team standings, Campos is on 166, then 30 points behind them is MP Motorsport on 136. In third is Rodin on 134, so that's 2 points difference to them. In 4 points is Invicta Racing, a further 30 points behind on 104. Then another 44 behind them. In fifth is Dams Lucas Oil on 68. Then another 6 points behind them is ART, who are 2 points behind on 66. In seventh is Trident, 4 points behind them on 62. And then in eighth is Hightech, a further 12 points behind on 50. In ninth is Prema, who's another 12 points behind on 38. In 10th is Van Amersfoort Racing, a further 18 points behind on 20. And in 11th is AIX on 20. Same as Van Amersfoort Racing. No wild incidents here, but quite a bit of fire. So in Formula 1, in free practice 1, we had another lot of rookies taking over the cars. So we had Jack Crawford in for Stroll. We had Ryo Hirakawa in for Ocon. We had Luke Browning in for Sainz. We had Paul Aaron in for Bortoletto. We had Ayumu Iwasa in for Lawson. Then we had Bogdanovic in for Leclerc, and that's it for all of the replacements there. But in 22nd position was Alonso with 21 laps. In 21st was Perez with 14. In 20th was Crawford with 22. In 19th was Hirakawa with 23. In 18th was Browning with 29. In the 17th was Aaron with 20. In 16th was Albon with 31. In 15th was Iwasa with 19. In 14th was Gasly with 28. In 13th was Bottas with 21. In 12th was Hadjar with 11. In 11th was Hulkenberg with 30. In 10th was Berman with 26. In 9th was Bogdanovic with 26. In 8th was Colapinto with 27. In 7th was Norris with 9. In 6th was Lindblad with 18. In 5th was Hamilton with 25. In 4th is Verstappen with 17. In 3rd was Piastri with 26. In 2nd was Russell with 30. And in 1st was Antonelli with 29. Now you may wonder why some of these drivers have a lot less than others. So Perez, let's start off with him, could not last the full hour of practice due to mechanical issues with his car. And then Hadjar had what I believe was a hydraulics leak, so he only did 11 laps. Verstappen only did 17 because he had issues with his car as well, some sort of mechanical error that I don't believe they actually disclosed what was an issue, but I know that he also had issues with his earphones in qualifying, and he had an issue with his seat as well. And Norris also had the hydraulic leak, so he only managed to do 9 laps. But Luke Browning, however, managed to do 29 laps, which is 29 laps more than what he managed to do in Barcelona. So that is always a plus for him. And for free practice 2, in 22nd position was Perez, who only did 2 laps, dropping 1 position because his car once again conked out. In 21st was Bottas, who also had issues, only completing 6 laps and dropping 8 positions. In 20th was Stroll with 32 laps, stayed where he was. In 19th was Alonso with 27 laps, gaining 3. In 18th was Sainz with 30, staying where he was. In 17th was Albon with 34, dropping 1. In 16th was Colapinto with 30, dropping 8. In 15th was Ocon with 33, gaining 4. In 14th was Hulkenberg with 32, dropping 3. In 13th was Berman with 33, dropping 3. In 12th was Lindblad with 29, dropping 6. In 11th was Gasly with 33, gaining 3. In 10th was Bortoletto with 30, gaining 7. In 9th was Lawson with 34, gaining 6. In 8th was Leclerc with 35, gaining 1. In 7th was Hadjar with 28, gaining 5. In 6th was Russell with 25, dropping 34. In 5th was Hamilton with 33, staying where he was. In 4th was Verstappen with 29, staying where he was. In 3rd was Norris with 32, gaining 4. In 2nd was Piastri with 32, gaining 1. And in 1st was Antonelli with 32, staying where he was. And for free practice 3, in 22nd was Stroll with 19 laps, dropping 2. In 21st was Alonso with 21 laps, dropping 2. In 20th was Bottas with 24, gaining 1. In 19th was Perez with 29, gaining 3. In 18th was Albon with 25, dropping 1. In 17th was Sainz with 27, gaining 1. In 16th was Ocon with 25, dropping 1. In 15th was Behrman, dropping 2. In 14th was Colapinto, gaining 2. In 13th was Bortoleto with 22, dropping 3. In 12th was Hulkenberg with 22, gaining 2. In 11th was Gasly with 16, staying where he was. In 10th was Lindblad with 24, gaining 2. In 9th was Lawson with 21, staying where he was. In 8th was Hadjar with 27, dropping 1. In 7th was Leclerc with 24, gaining 1. In 6th was Verstappen with 16, dropping 2. In 5th was Norris with 20, dropping 2. In 4th was Piastri with 17, dropping 2. In 3rd was Hamilton with 22, gaining 2. In 2nd was Antonelli with 17, dropping 1. And in 1st was Russell with 19, gaining 5. Now, qualifying was a little bit controversial in Q3, but we'll get to that. So in 22nd position for qualifying was Stroll, who stayed where he was. In 21st was Alonso, who stayed where he was. In 20th was Bottas, who stayed where he was. In 19th was Perez, who stayed where he was. In 18th was Albon, who stayed where he was. And in 17th and ending Q1 was Sainz, who was quite close to getting a place in Q2, but unfortunately so close, but yet so far, he also stayed where he was. In 16th was Colapinto, dropping 2. In 15th was Ocon, gaining 1. In 14th was Hulkenberg, dropping 2. In 13th was Behrman, gaining 2. In 12th was Bortoleto, gaining 1. And in 11th, only 400th of a second off gaining a position into Q3 was Gasly. He lost out to Verstappen. And then in Q3, this is where all the drama happened. So in 10th is Lindblad, who stayed where he was. In 9th is Lawson, who stayed where he was, so that's fine. In 8th is Hadjar, who stayed where he was, that's also fine. In 7th is where McLaren start dropping off, with Piastri dropping 3, and followed by Norris in 6th, dropping 1. And then in 5th is Verstappen, who gained 1 position, but he had a crash. And it was a crash that caused single yellow flags, which should have been, in many people's opinions, automatically double yellow flags, which resulted in Antonelli, who is in 4th position, dropping 2, who was on a flying lap. He backed out thinking that it was double yellow. Hamilton was in 3rd and stayed where he was, but he was not affected by the crash. Leclerc was out as well as Norris at the same time, and both of them asked how Max was. He was luckily fine after the crash. He lost it on turn 9, crashing into presumably his something to do with his rear wing not shutting properly. Leclerc gained 5 positions and he qualified 2nd, but the controversy revolves around the single flags rather than double flags, and Russell being able to qualify 1st when there was a incident on track where quite easily someone could have joined Max and may have ended in a tragedy, which is where the controversy happens. But overall, it turns out that apparently there was nothing wrong with what Russell did, so he ended up qualifying and starting 1st. So now let's move on to the race, where in 22nd position was Bottas, who within about 2 laps had a brake fire, so he did not finish the race. And then about 1 or 2 laps later was Perez, who also did not finish the race, dropping 2 positions. In 20th was Sainz, whose car just stopped working near the start-finish line. He dropped 3 positions, did not finish the race. In 19th was Stroll, who had to retire the car, but he gained 3 positions overall. In 18th was Alonso, who gained 3 positions. In 17th was Albon, who gained 1 position. In 16th was Ocon, who dropped 1 position. In 15th was Colapinto, who gained 1 position. In 14th was Behrman, who dropped 1 position. In 13th was Gasly, the first time he hasn't actually earned a point this season. in a weekend dropped 2 positions. In 12th was Hulkenberg, who gained 2 positions. In 11th was Bortoleto, who gained 1 position. In 10th was Lindblad, who stayed where he was. In 9th was Lawson, who stayed where he was. Leclerc had a very anonymous race, dropping 6 positions into 8th, and then so did Norris, 31 seconds behind the race leader, who dropped 1 position into 7th. Hadjar was in it between him, Hamilton, and Piastri. He finished 6th, gaining 2 positions. Hamilton also not very good for him. He dropped 2 positions. And then in 4th is Piastri, who gained 3 positions, but also he was 21 seconds behind the race leader and 19 seconds behind Antonelli, who was in 3rd. He gained 1 position. In 2nd was Verstappen, who was being chased by Antonelli, but he was also chasing Russell. He gained 3 positions, and in 1st was Russell, who stayed where he was. But what does that mean for the standings? In 1st position is Antonelli with 171 points. 40 points behind him on 131 is Russell. In 3rd is Hamilton, 6 points behind Russell on 125. Another 45 points behind on 80 is Piastri. In 5th is Norris on 79, 1 point behind his teammate Piastri. In 6th is Leclerc on 79, same as Norris. In 7th is Verstappen on 73, 6 points behind Leclerc. In 8th is Hadjar, who's on 42 points, 31 points behind his teammate Verstappen. In 9th is Gasly on 41, 1 point behind fellow countryman Hadjar. In 10th is Lawson on 30 points, 11 points behind Gasly. In 11th is Behrman on 18, 12 points behind Lawson. In 12th is Colapinto on 16, 2 points behind Behrman. In 13th is Lindblad on 14 points, 2 points behind Colapinto. In 14th is Sainz on 6 points, 8 points behind Lindblad. In 15th is Albon on 5 points, 1 point behind his teammate Sainz. In 16th is Ocon on 3 points, 2 points behind Albon. In 17th is Bortoleto on 2 points, 1 point behind Ocon. In 18th is Alonso on 1 point, 1 point behind his protege Bortoleto. In 19th is Hulkenberg, 1 point behind on 0. And then in 20th is Bottas on 0. In 21st is Perez with 0, and in 22nd is Stroll on 0. And where does that leave the team standings? In 1st is Mercedes on 302. In 2nd is Ferrari, 98 points behind on 204. In 3rd is McLaren, 45 points behind Ferrari on 159. In 4th is Red Bull, 44 points behind McLaren on 115. In 5th is Alpine on 57, 58 points behind Red Bull. In 6th is Racing Bulls, 13 points behind on 44. In 7th, 23 points behind is Haas with 21. In 8th is 10 points behind Haas is Williams on 11. In 9th is Audi, 9 points behind Williams on 2. In 10th is Aston Martin, 1 point behind on 1. And Cadillac are yet to score, and they are 1 point behind Aston Martin on 0 and in 11th position. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Formula Amateur. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you will join me for more episodes coming up. Don't forget to check out my lovely colleagues on the Be The Change Media Network. Don't forget to check out BeTheChangeMediaNetwork.com. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you soon with Silverstone coming up next week, but also with more episodes coming out where they will not always be race rundowns, I promise. And I'll see you then. Goodbye.